Hello everyone, it's my great honor here to share my research. And today my presentation is Stereotype Content Dictionary, a semantic space of 3 million words and phrases using Google News Word2Vec embedding. So this research was supported by the Department of Sociology in the Chinese University of Hong Kong. Stereotypes are knowledge structures that function as mental picture of the group in question. So stereotypes can be negative or positive. And the stereotype can also cause multiple harms like misrecognition effects, distribution effects, psychology effects. But today, my research is not aimed to perpetuate or confirm these views. My presentation is going to measure the stereotype content. So at first, I will briefly introduce several classic theories. The first one is the stereotype content model theory, which was proposed by Susan Fiske at 2002. And she said all stereotype content can be assigned to two dimensions, the worms dimension and the competence dimension. What does it mean? Just like if we perceive a person who is sociable or friendly, then we can assign these people to the worms dimension. If we think of people who is intelligent or capable, then we think these people can be assigned to the competence dimension. The competence dimension. So not only the individuals, but also the groups also can be evaluated by these two big dimensions, just like the old people or homemaker. This kind of group can be evaluated as worms and incompetent. So this is the basic theory of the stereotype content model. And Cudi goes further in this kind of model, and she said, combined with the worms dimension and competence dimension, people will generate the different emotion like pity, disgust, envy, and admiration. And the ambivalent stereotype, that is the one dimension is high and another dimension is low, is more easy to happen in the group. Another famous theory is semantic difference theory, which was proposed by Osgood. And he said the social perception can be evaluated with 3 dimensions, that is evaluation, activity, and potency. And each dimension have some small subdimension, just like evaluation was consist the positive and negative dimension, good bad dimension, and true false dimension. And Nicholas found the semantic difference theory has some relation with the stereotype content model theory, that is evaluation was positive with the worms and the potency is the positive with the competence. So that is the reason why I choose the stereotype content model as my basic theory. But as we all know, this kind of traditional theory are always limited by a narrow range of information source, like they're always relying on questionnaire-based data collection and analysis. This means their sample size will not too large. And second is, this kind of method always generates selection bias because the majority of respondents are drawn from college-educated subpopulation. And the most important, the stereotype is not always constant. The high costs associated with conducting questionnaire research present significant challenge to obtaining a whole picture of stereotype over time. So that is the reason why I need to use the computational method to address this limitation. And I think big data can help us to deal with this matter. And there are so many researchers has explored this kind of field. And there are 2 main approaches to measure stereotype. The first one is word embedding approach. Word embedding model has been widely used in measuring non-material traits like culture, ethnic stereotypes, and etc. And Fraser, she proposed the first word level embedding to measure stereotype. And the second approach is natural language processing approach. Then them try to measure stereotype stereotypical bias in pre-trained language model, and Fraser expands their model from word level to sentence level with robot model to evaluate stereotype content. I have to say, sentence level is more important than word level to some extent, because just like nowadays we use the social medias and we publish Twitter and some sentence in the on the website. So they are the main text data in our real world. However, the sentence level word is based on preliminary work of word level. So I suppose if you want to have an accurate sentence level model, you need to have an accurate word level embedding at first. So based on this concern, I goes to introduce a new computational approach to construct stereotype model. And at first, I will briefly introduce the framework of Fraser's model. His method is creating interpretable access in semantic embedding space use concept of semantic differentials. That is, use the polar opposite to define a dimension. So his method has three main steps. The first step is determine direction vectors for each set of polar opposite. And then she will stack the direction vector to form a change in the basis matrix. And lastly, for any word in the original embedding can be projected to the new semantic space. So then he can measure the stereotype. But the only problem is how to find the warm word and cold word. Fraser replaces them with the average warm and cold word. So what does it mean? So Fraser finds some word which can represent the worms, just like sociability, morality. This kind of words are highly correlated with the worms. And she found another set of words which can represent code, just like unsociability, immoral. And she uses worms minus the code, and then she can get a dimension, and this dimension can capture the meaning of the worms. However, this kind of method, I suppose it will be useful to some extent, but she ignored two important parts. That is, word embedding always have bias, because word embedding are defined by the relation of each word to every other in the training data. And it will generate aggregation bias without constructing a suitable semantic dimension. It will cause the risk of many shifts. So I just update the algorithm. I construct the antonym pairs instead of her method. So in this method, I can decrease the bias in the word embedding. And this method was supported by the Durian. In his paper, he found that the orientation of autonomous pairs relative to each other defines the direction in the embedding against which bias can be collaborated with precision. So, based on this, I suppose antonym pairs, especially those pairs, have a contrasting meaning. Then we can use this kind of pair to capture more meaning of one dimension. And then we can go to the next part is the validation of Fraser. She predicts the accuracy of group classification from psychology surveys. But I think this method is not acceptable. Just like all his group are selected from the different literature. But we can see Japanese are perceived as cold and competent in her paper. However, in Kudis and Lee's paper shows that Japanese are worms and incompetent. So it means that this method is not always available. And I propose a new feasible and rigorous approach of validation. That is, use the personality trace. We studied 64 personalities proposed by Rosenberg. She tested these traits distributed in semantic differential dimension, and Nicholas used distribution traits to test semantic differential and stereotype content model dimensions through questionnaires. So I suppose this kind of personality traits can be a gold standard to validate our new model. So I separate all the personality traits with two scenarios. The first one is overall scenario. That means all personality traits will be selected and tested. And the second scenario is for stable stereotype. That means personality traits appear in both semantic differential and stereotype content model dimension will be selected because only this kind of personality traits we can confirm their distribution. And I also use the extreme stereotype and ambivalent stereotype as my indicator, which was usually be used in the traditional literature. And the baseline was the random chance, which means every quadrant has 25% predicted. So to sum up, our contribution have 3 points. The first one is I propose a computational model combined with stereotype content model to measure stereotype. And second is I propose a new rigorous and scientific approach to validate the computational stereotype model. And then I compare the performance and found our model have a better performance than the Fraser's word level model. So my data set have 3 parts. The first is the word which used to construct the antonym pairs was from the Worms competence lexicon, which was proposed by Susan Fisk and her team. And our original embedding, I'm using the Google News Word2Vec embeddings, and the test data set is 64 well-studied personality traits. Then goes to the result part. I separate my result with 2 parts. First one is validation, and second is comparison. So in terms of the validation, my new model shows that it can capture the majority of personality traits, almost 66%, and the overall performance of the new model improved for the 39 stable traits, achieving an accuracy of 69%. And the predicted performance has improved in extreme stereotype situation. The new model's predictive performance saw significant improvement over the baseline model, with an improvement of 41 and 44 for 59 and 39 trait situation respectively. In the terms of comparison part, you can see Fraser's model achieved a mere overall accuracy of 40%, and the predictive performance of the new model is 1.6 times higher than Fraser's model. And in the terms of ambivalent stereotype scenario, Fraser's model has yielded unsatisfactory outcomes with a mere 20% accuracy rate in identifying ambivalent stereotypes. The new model has demonstrated a 60% precision rate in the same quadrant, which is 3 times higher than Fraser's model. So we can also evaluate the robustness. The accuracy of ambivalent stereotype has a significant decrease in Fraser's model, which only slightly affects the new model, resulting in a decrease from 63 to 62, which can illustrate that my model are more robust than Fraser's model. So, okay, that's all my presentation. Because of time limitation, I will not elaborate some more details. But I suppose my model can be used as a useful tool in psychology or social psychology field. And because this paper is only a small part in my whole work, so if you are interested in this field, please feel free to contact me. Thank you.